Hello, today's review is dedicated to Denis Villeneuve's 2021 film Dune Part 1. The film is actually not about politics, war, or space intrigue. It's about an immature teenager named Paul, who passively reacts to everything happening around him and isn't ready for the role the world is trying to thrust upon him. For instance, his mother catches him at breakfast and makes him practice, specifically his magic voice. Keeping in mind that at any other time, this teenager has zero interest in practicing. Another example, his fencing instructor shows up and says, "Alright, time for fencing training." But Paul's just not feeling it. Or take having to move to another planet and rule over it. Can you imagine the stress? Everything was so good, life was perfectly settled. And then suddenly you are moving, making new friends, getting used to a new room, flying out to various locations, governing, sitting on councils. Paul could easily have said, "Dad, why do you even need this? I don't want to rule. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be, well, I don't know what I want to be, but definitely not a ruler." His naivety really shows when he asks a friend, "Can I fly with you to another planet?" As if it's some casual road trip while the place is crawling with spy assassins. Another gem. "I'll take the Emperor's daughter as my wife." Excuse me, who exactly are you at this point? You just lost everything. You are an exile with nothing to your name. That's pure childness. The filmmakers have essentially given us the hero of our time, the modern young man. Oh, and he occasionally dreams about girls too. At one point near the end, a girl tells him 3 times that it might actually be better if he got killed, right here and now. Like will collect your water of life, and honestly, it's for your own good, because life in this world is nothing but suffering anyway. And he just take it, which is exactly how some teenagers behave. A girl shows up and suddenly he can't say a word, just like Paul Atreides. On top of that, the film has no real ending. A lot of people compare Dune to The Lord of the Rings. Let's actually compare the endings of Dune Part 1 and the Fellowship of the Ring. In Fellowship, the Fellowship breaks apart. The orcs capture Merry and Pippin, and Frodo and Sam set off toward Mordor. And the whole thing wraps up with a spectacular battle sequence. Dune, on the other hand, just kind of drags on and then abruptly stops, with Zendaya's character saying, "This is only the beginning." And it's all. In my opinion, it should have closed right at the scene of the place being destroyed. That would have felt conclusive. The city has fallen, the palace is in ruins, the father is dead, Paul and his mother are on the run. Instead, you are left wondering what on earth just happened. The supporting characters are undeveloped and serve mostly functional roles. So the whole story ends up revolving entirely around the half-formed Paul. The other characters are generally well acted. There's a father who accepts his son as he is and tries to guide and educate him, a mother who genuinely worries about her child, childhood friends, comrades and father's soldiers. The problem is that none of these characters have their own story or any meaningful interaction with each other. The dialogue is dull and nearly non-existent. It feels like there is one big kid in the center and everyone else just walks around him without ever really connection. That said, this doesn't necessarily make Paul Atreides a worse character, it's just how it is. Now the location. This is where the film both deserves praise and takes some hits. The locations are grandiose and the CGI barely feels like CGI. Teeny human figures against massive structures really hammer home a sense of human insignificance. The desert is shot well. The Atreides' home planet Caladan looks absolutely stunning. However, I do have another complaint. The film lacks color. Just take a look at some frames from Rain Children to see what a more visually expressive desert can look like. Here some scenes are rendered almost entirely in shades of grey. You sometimes find yourself wondering, is that snow on the buildings and vehicles or is it sand? The visuals are mixed bag overall. Breathtaking in some moments, disappointing in others. As for the music, honestly it's a letdown. There is nothing memorable about it. Listened to on its own, it doesn't hold a candle to the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. On the film themes. The central one is post-colonialism. The Harkonnens arrive on a foreign desert planet and extract precious resources, the spice, while destroying the local population in the process. The local fought for their freedom and independence and lost to the colonizers. Then the bad colonizers left, the good colonizers arrived and tried to establish peace with the freemen. Though notably, the Atreides are also accused of colonialism and resource exploitation. The filmmakers don't offer any answers to the questions they raise. What do we do about colonialism? The implied message seems to be colonizers just leave and we'll live happily ever after. Maybe that works in theory, but film doesn't even bother to show us that. Now for the overall verdict. On the downside, weak plot and undeveloped characters, no clear ending, poor color grading. Why am I looking at a grey, washed out desert instead of vibrant one? The film also raises colonial themes, though it's really more about feudalism in space. There is an anti-colonial message and a certain ideological undercurrent, though it feels underexplored. On the upside, this is a gorgeous space opera, strong men fighting with swords, lasers, shields designed to block those lasers, spaceships, epic interstellar travel, different planets, giant worms and sweeping panoramic shots. All of it is executed brilliantly. So yes, the film has both its flaws and its strengths. That's why I am giving it 8 out of 12. Thanks for watching.